Evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6 o'clock, Tuesday, May the 14th, 2019. We are convening our regular session of the Duncanville City Council for two items in our regular session, items for consideration, primarily for canvassing votes, and a second item, item 1B, that we'll chat about in just a minute. First, let's go ahead and take care of the item for individual consideration, item 1A. Just so you know what needs to be done in order to put it into the record, I will read the item off the agenda, and then there are 3 some pages that I have to read into the record. So please attempt to stay awake. Item 1A, consider resolution canvassing and declaring the results of the May 4th, 2019 general election for council member at large and council members from District 1, 3, and 5. Resolution number 2019-043. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, canvassing and declaring the results for the May 4th, 2019 general election for council member at large and council members for Districts 1, 3, and 5, and providing an effective date. Whereas it is hereby found and determined that notices of a general election were duly given in the form, manner, and time required by law, and said elections were in all respects legally held and conducted in accordance with the applicable laws of the state of Texas, and the proceedings calling and governing the holding of such elections. And whereas it is imperative to consider the returns of the general and special elections held on May 4th, 2019, for the purpose of electing the hereinafter named officials before the qualified voters of the city. And whereas the returns of the general election have been duly and legally made and submitted to the City Council for canvassing, and a tabulation of the returns for the polling places and for early voting as canvassed and tabulated by this governing body as follows. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, after examining said returns and opening and canvassing the votes of said election, that the results of said election are as follows. Section 1, that the following number of votes were cast for following named candidate for the office of council member at large, to wit: name, Patrick Harvey, early votes 866, election day votes 318, total votes 1,184. Patrick LeBlanc, early votes 634, election day votes 311, total votes 945. It appearing that Patrick Harvey has received the majority of all votes cast by the office of council member at large, Patrick Harvey is hereby declared to be elected to serve a 2-year term after qualifying. Section 2, that the following number of votes were cast for the following named candidate for the office of council member District 1, to wit: name, Joe Vera Cruz, early votes 320, election day votes 162, total votes 482. Matthew Jones, early votes 195, election day votes 106, total votes 301. It appearing that Joe Vera Cruz received a majority of all votes cast for the office of council member District 1, Joe Vera Cruz is hereby declared to be elected to serve a 2-year term after qualifying. Section 3, that the following number of votes were cast for the following named candidate for the office of council member District 3, to wit: name, Monty Anderson, early votes 114, election day votes 30, total votes 144. It appearing that Monty Anderson received a majority of all votes cast for the office of council member District 3, Monty Anderson is hereby declared to be elected to serve a 2-year term after qualifying. Section 4, that the following number of votes were cast for the following named candidate for the office of council member District 5, to wit: name, Johnette Jameson, early votes 134, election day votes 70, total votes 204. Mike Minor, early votes 133, election day votes 55, total votes 188. It appearing that Johnette Jameson received a majority of all votes cast for the office of council member District 5, Johnette Jameson is hereby declared to be elected to serve a 2-year term after qualifying. Section 5, this resolution declaring the results of the municipal election shall become effective immediately after its passage. It is further ordered that this canvass and declaration of results of said election shall be entered in the minutes of the City Council, and that said officers, after being qualified and having taken the oath, shall serve during the term commencing May 21, 2019, and thereafter until a successor is duly elected and qualified, duly passed by the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas. This is the 14th day of May, 2019. Approved, Mario Gordon, Mayor, City of Duncanville. Thank you very much. That concludes item number 1A on our agenda. Moving on to item number 1B. Consider removal of the Mayor Pro Tem. Before we embark on this particular item, I do want to thank current Mayor Pro Tem Leslie Thomas, Councilmember Leslie Thomas, for standing in for me in some very recent events which I was not able to attend. She graciously accepted my request to do so and stood in for me very ably, and I thank her for that, for being my stead in those particular events. So item 1B is consider the removal of Mayor Pro Tem. The item is open.
So we just make a motion and
It's open for consideration and whatever anyone on the council determines to do.
okay, well, then I'll make a motion. The motion to approve the removal of the Mayor Pro Tem.
There is a motion on the table to approve the removal of the current Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second? Second. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion,
I see this, and my question comes in of, are we overstepping our bounds? And the reason why I say that is we don't have a report.
There's nothing tied to it.
I question why we're taking this action. I mean, I sat through the executive session, but we're still, and I call it the corridor next door, we're only seeing one side of it, and we're being asked to make a decision without hearing the other side. I don't see how we can do this. Being ethical, any of us would want how we can do this without hearing both sides of the story. No court in the land would do that.
I have a statement. This is only for a week, so the fact that I will be removed as Mayor Pro Tem is not an issue with me. It is the irregularities. I have a question and a statement. When was this decision made and the direction given to the staff to place on the agenda my removal as Mayor Pro Tem?
Mr. Hugman?
The direction from the council was at the last council meeting during the executive session.
Okay, thank you. So we are here today because I made a mistake. Upon hearing from the city manager, I immediately came into compliance with his request to stop with absolutely no arguments. And going above what was requested, I hand-delivered written apologies to every house that was affected. There were ethics complaints filed against, I believe I have before. There were ethics complaints filed against me as a result of this mistake. Now, at the time of the direction for me being removed as Mayor Pro Tem to be placed on the agenda was made, there had not been any findings of fact or law provided by the city attorney to the council. At no time did the mayor or any council member who wanted me punished ask to hear my side of the story. Duncanville has a procedure for hearing complaints, and that is laid out in our charter. That due process has a long history, and this is what I'm defending. I'm not defending Leslie Thomas. I'm not defending Mayor Pro Tem. I'm defending our history of due process. So, where did the due process start in history? It starts in Deuteronomy chapter 1, the tiny infant state of Israel, where the judges were told to hear cases between your brethren and judge righteously between a man and his brother or a stranger who is with him. You shall not show partiality in judgment. You shall hear the small as well as the great. Then in Proverbs 18, 2 verses, the first one to plead his cause seems right until his neighbor comes and examines him. In other words, the first time you hear something from somebody, oh yeah, that's a good case, until you hear the other side. That's why we always allow the accused to have a hearing. And Proverbs 18:13, he who answers a matter before he hears it is a folly and a shame on him. So, you know, before you even hear the hearing, you have the answer. Then back in 1215, I'm going back to, so this is the Judeo history that we inherited as Christians. And then back in 1215, John of England, in Magna Carta, clause 39, if you want to get technical, he promises that no man shall be seized or imprisoned or stripped of his rights or possessions or outlawed or exiled or deprived of his standing in any other way, nor will he proceed with force against him or send others to do so except by lawful judgment of his equals or by the law of the land. We have a law. We have a procedure. It's in the charter. Then that translates to our United States due process clause. It's not mentioned once in the Bill of Rights. It's mentioned twice. It holds the federal government in the 5th Amendment, and in the 14th Amendment it holds the state to it, where everyone is entitled to the due process of law. And then you go to the section 55.1.102 that talks about our how we govern in Texas, and it's a requirement to. So you just heard the city manager tell you that this decision was made in executive session. Well, decisions are not allowed to be made in executive sessions. They must be made out in the open. So that violated that. They want to circumvent the proceedings and get right to the punishment. You know, this is political. I understand it. I'm a political animal, and that I don't disagree with. But not following the law. Right today, I have a platform. Today, I can stand up and remind everyone what due process is and what the rule of law is, and to encourage us to follow the procedure. It would have only taken 2 council members outside executive session to request to put on the agenda. Perfectly legal. But you didn't do it that way. You did it in an executive session. And the conspiracy to circumvent charter, the chapter offense and the penalty. A member or group of members of a governmental body commits an offense if the member or group of members knowingly conspires to circumvent this chapter by meeting in numbers less than a quorum for the purpose of secret deliberations in violation of this chapter. It was obvious to me in the executive session that people's minds have already made up, and I had not even said a word. So, you know, vote your conscience, but to me, this is more than Leslie being removed as Mayor Pro Tem. To me, this is us not following the rules. And if you're not going to follow the rules with someone who has a voice, then what about the little guy out there who doesn't have a voice, who doesn't know what goes in executive session, who doesn't know the rules? They just roll over and take it. And I yield.
Without seeing the draft of the minutes from our last city council meeting, I do not have clear recollection in terms of what city council requested and/or / directed as we came out of executive session and went into council. So, city attorney, do you have a recollection of that?
My recollection is that it was requested. I can't tell you which council members, and again, I have to rely on the city manager because I think the request was made to him about putting it on the agenda.
Is that in council or was it only in executive session?
I do not believe it was an executive session. I believe it was after executive session had adjourned.
My recollection as well is that there was some statement made by council subsequent to the closing of executive session as to putting this item on the next agenda. Is there any way to look at the draft minutes of what we have?
I have no minutes that reflect anything. I didn't hear none of that.
And do you have the charter there on, like Mayor Pro Tem? Because Mayor Pro Tem serves at the pleasure of the council. It doesn't have to be tied to anything. Nothing.
I have the rules of procedure, which does indicate under section A13, the mayor pro tem may be removed by simple majority vote at the city council. That's all it
And
says.
that's not with cause.
Read it one more time. Sorry.
Yes, the mayor pro tem may be removed by simple majority vote of the city council.
So the item has been requested to be put on the agenda.
Could I ask a question?
Certainly.
First of all, I want to commend you for acknowledging you made a mistake. What was that mistake? What mistake did you make?
I would actually caution that we get into any discussion about the actual ethics complaint because that is kind of a separate issue. The only thing to be decided right now on the agenda is the removal of the mayor pro tem.
I'm willing to have that conversation, but like I said, I'm going through my head whether it's acceptable or not.
Okay, well, I mean, the only reason I asked is because when she was reading, she acknowledged that she made a mistake. So that's why I asked.
In regard to Mrs. Thomas's issues that she raised in terms of violation of charter and procedure, and the city attorney's opinion, legal opinion, would our taking a vote on this matter, item 1B, be in violation of any law, code, ordinance, or statement in our city charter or rules of order?
If it was not properly put on the agenda as required by your charter, then yes, it could not take a vote on it tonight.
It doesn't take two people to put something on the agenda. It's just one person requests for it to be on the agenda.
So the conclusion then is based on the city attorney's opinion, as long as it's on the agenda, a vote taken on this particular motion and second is not illegal. It is not in violation of any ordinance, any code, or any paragraph, clause in our rules of order or city charter.
Correct, as long as it was properly put on the agenda.
And it is on the agenda.
Correct.
So we don't have the minutes from last week prepared?
No.
I called the city manager, so
Okay. And any city council member can request an item to be put on the agenda.
Correct.
And for the record, you're saying, James, you requested this item to
yeah,
be put on
I
the
called
agenda?
him and talked to him.
Okay, and then that's all it takes. Any city council member at any point in time can request an item to be put on the agenda. Let the record show that that request was made by council member Jameson to city manager Kevin Hugman. Kevin Hugman complied with the request in accordance with the city charter and rules of order of what we have. Therefore, it does appear on the agenda. The matter before us, is there any further discussion?
If this is voted for, then what?
We will proceed until the next city council, and that's at that point in time we elect a new council elects a new mayor pro tem. Between now and the, was it 21st? When's the next city council?
Yes.
It'll be June 4th, it will be on the agenda for June 4th.
June 4th. So between now and June 4th, the city will be without a mayor pro tem.
I think it works out, but doesn't the city charter say when the election for mayor pro tem would be if one is removed?
Should Mayor Pro Tem office be vacated, an election to fill the unexpired term shall be held at the second regular meeting of the city council following the vacancy. So that would be June 4th.
I think it's the same meeting.
No,
It's in the charter when you do it.
and it would be in June. June 4th. Is there any further discussion?
Well, Kevin made it clear that it's not tied to anything, and it's not tied to anything.
And I disagree.
I said it can't be.
It can't be.
That's what the attorney said.
Right.
Point
And-
of clarification, I would also like to note that when you called me about the agenda, it had already been posted. The direction I received was Tuesday night. Whether it was at the end of executive session, right after, I don't recall the exact timing, but the direction I received was Tuesday night.
Okay.
And I just want to, be on the record for saying, the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying, Leslie and Dennis, is because of ethics. And because when we make a decision in here, we set a precedence for future decisions. And as I said last week, falsely accusing you, when there was again, no proof, no evidence that there was some issue involving the election in 2017 with Councilmember Jameson and her opponent at that point, there was all kind of ethics complaint. Everything that we did, it was wrong, trying to get her sanctioned, whatever. So I'm basing what I'm saying today on what occurred when I first came on the council, and it was bad, it was ugly, because we thought that something unethical had been done on her part.
And you gave her the opportunity to have a say.
No, ma'am, not.
Okay, well, that may be true. And you asked at the meeting last week, what do we want? That's what you asked.
I think we're getting into.
I would-
what's going
yeah.
on in executive session.
Anything
Okay.
discussed in
We can't talk-
executive
Okay.
session should not be discussed
Well,
here.
I mean, okay. Well,
Something's got to be said.
the point I'm trying to make is, it's not anything against Leslie Thomas, as you said. It's the fact that there was an ethics violation supposedly, and we did whatever we did. And so I'm just saying, in your words, due process, why aren't we doing the same thing? That's it. It's nothing against Leslie Thomas. So I just wanted to address what you said about, because you were a part of that. You were a part of that. So I just wanted you to be clear on that.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, because we do not have the electronic voting, it's my direction that we do this by a show of hands, not simply by voice vote, so that it's very clear exactly what vote is being taken and by whom. So the motion on the floor, please read the motion again.
Consider removal of Mayor Pro Tem.
The motion has been made, the motion has been seconded. Seeing as there's no further discussion, a vote in favor, or a vote of yes, which I will ask for, is a vote of yes or a vote of no. A vote of yes approves the motion for the removal of the Mayor Pro Tem. A vote of no rejects the motion for removal of the mayor pro tem. Does everybody understand? All in favor, consider the removal of the mayor pro tem with a vote of yes. Please raise your hand. All opposed to consider the removal of the mayor pro tem, please raise your hand. The vote is 4 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention. The motion is approved. Seeing the motion is approved, this meeting is adjourned at 6:26, May 14th, 2019.